Hi, I'm Jeff the Junk Seller, and in this presentation, I want to tell a story that began about 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago. Um, in the spring of 2020, I was doing the van life. I was out I spent a lot of time in West Texas, Abilene, Buffalo Gap, were a couple of the markets that I went to. But COVID was coming in, and I wasn't on the television. I didn't stay on social media, but I kept hearing little bits and pieces about it, and I would check it out on Google every once in a while. And I wound up in a Waterburger at lunch one time, and I heard a young girl telling an elderly couple that they were going to close down the dining room at the restaurant, but they would still be able to come through the drive-through. So in panic, if they were closing down the economy, I didn't know what I was going to do. I counted on activity in order to survive, and I'd been selling food. I had a friend that I met at one of the markets that put me on a supply line. I was on the same supply line that a lot of the food banks are on with, I believe the company was Cormark, and I could get candy bars and beef jerky, stuff that they disposed of whenever they fronted up the shelves, whenever they would go in and pull the inventory up. But I couldn't find enough antique stuff, enough old stuff to sell. So I started selling that stuff along with the other stuff that I was selling, and I found it to be pretty lucrative. And I did that for, I think, probably 2 years, and I was doing it at this time. And when the girl was telling the couple in the dining room that they wouldn't be able to come into the dining room, I got concerned and I called some friends of mine in Oklahoma City, dear friends of mine. They had me come out and stay with them because the economy, I mean, everything was closed. And I went out and stayed with them for 42 days, 42 very long days. But I stayed with them. And during the lockdown, I was trying to figure out what to do. And when I came out, I had a scheme developed where I would go to all these little towns where they didn't have a real big population, and I would advertise this food stuff for sale on Facebook Marketplace. And that worked really, really well. And whenever I would come into a town, I was always putting ads on in lead of me getting there, like a week ahead of time. And I would put in there that I bought old photos, old postcards, and stamp collections, and other old junk. And I got a call from some people. I was in Duncan, Oklahoma. I was doing really well with this. I could go into a town and without a flea market, and on a Friday, I could do $500 or $600 worth of sales out of the back of the van. And every once in a while, somebody would call and have some old stuff for me to come and see. Most of the time, I couldn't buy it from them because they just dreamer prices. But I had one couple that called me. They had a stamp collection. It belonged to the man's wife. She started experiencing senility. They wanted to get rid of the collection before he was afraid that she would damage it, and she didn't enjoy it anymore. It was just stuff in the basement. So I was down there and I was looking at the stamps, and I had decided that I could pay him um, $250 for the stamp collection. And there was a bottle down there while I was there, and I spotted this bottle, and I just couldn't get my eyes off of it. It was a Globe Bitters bottle. I'll put a picture in this video here in a few moments, but it's a very rare bottle. It's a transitional type, a cannon shape. Bitters bottles have a real strong following, but this was sometime around, I believe it was in May or June of 2020, and the thing that concerned me about the bottle is it was perfect. I mean, it was on a scale of 1 to 100. It was 100 out of 100. There were no defects, no nothing. And I was concerned that it was a reproduction. So I made the man an offer on the stamp collection, and it wasn't enough. And I offered him, I think I offered him $150, and he waffled at that, and I wound up, we discussed it for a little bit, and I told him that I'd give him 250 if he would include that bottle, and that was good for him. So I walk away with this bottle, and I get on down the road. Um, I'm probably 20, 25 miles down the road, and I decide that I've got to find out about this bottle. So in the town that the man was in, I couldn't access the internet. I couldn't get a signal, and I couldn't do research. So I get on down the road, and I get over on the side of the road, and I find out. I, I I find that there's bottles that look like this. If this is indeed an original, that are going for $1,200. I found one online, and that was kind of alarming to me. But I mean, because it was perfect, I had to show it to a guy that was a bottle collector in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and I showed it to him. He decided that it was genuine, and I had this bottle. And when they opened back up the economy, I wound up traveling around. I wound up in Hutchinson, Kansas, at a flea market. I was still selling food and still selling old stuff, but I wound up offering this bottle for sale in Hutchinson. I would take it to these flea markets and just I almost taunt the locals because it's a $1,200 bottle. Who's going to pay $1,200 for a bottle? And Hutchinson, Kansas has a really strong bottle collecting community, and it got real serious real quick. And guys were asking if they could take photos, wanted to send photos to people. And before long, I met a couple of people that were pretty serious about it. One guy was really, really serious about it, and he came back the next day with photographs of his collection and told me that he couldn't pay me $1,200. And I asked him, well, what was his offer? And he told me $1,100. That night, I decided that I needed to raise some money. I was running short, and I didn't have anything to capitalize with. And that sale at Hutchinson I wasn't making much money there. When I left there, I got an $1,100 check from him for this bottle that I virtually paid nothing for. But when I got that when I left there, I had to go and cash the check. When I left there, I had about $1,400 in my pocket, and I went to Topeka, Kansas. I was shopping around. Kansas, they hold their photographs in really low regard. It's a great place to buy photographs if you want to buy them cheaply. And you can get some good images, even at really inexpensive prices. I don't know what it is about Kansas. They just don't care too much about their photos. But while I was there, I did the same thing with posting ads in advance of me getting there, and I had some sales happening for the food stuff. And I had somebody that I was meeting at a Walmart parking lot in the south of town. And when I headed towards that appointment, I wound up going through an intersection where a couple of young girls driving a Mercedes blew through the intersection and T-boned me. That pretty much put the end to that business for a little while. I limped back to Oklahoma City. I could barely drive the vehicle. I was leaking transmission fluid. I was having to put a quart of transmission fluid in every other day. But I get back to Oklahoma City. I've got about $40,000 worth of inventory with me at the time, excluding this food stuff. And I got a storage unit back in Oklahoma City. I got to get that stuff secured. So I get back there, make a claim with my insurance company, turn in the van. I've got no vehicle. I'm doing van life. I don't have a place to stay, but I have friends, and I contacted a buddy, told him what my situation was, and he had a Toyota. I think it was a Camry. It was a Toyota 4-door, and he loaned it to me for a little while. So I had some money, and the people on the van, the insurance company, they took quite a while before they ever paid me out on the van. Um, it took man, I think it took about 6 weeks before I got paid on the van. So for 6 weeks, I've got no activity. I don't have a vehicle to go to markets. I do go and do some shopping. I did some citywide sales in Oklahoma City and found some really great stuff. Um, Found a couple of fantastic postcard collections on one day, two collections in one day. It was just it was pretty cool. But found myself at another sale where they had a whole tote of of packs of matches, and they were all the way from the 50s all the way up to probably 1980s or so. Restaurants, bars, things like this. Well, I did pretty well with that stuff. I eventually got another van, and I got on the road, and I sold out of that tote full of matches. They had them priced at like 10 for $1, and I asked them how much for all of them, and they came back and told me 30 or $35. I can't remember what it was, but have all these matches, and I kept taking them to sales. And depending on where I was, how well things were selling, I'd sell them anywhere from 6 packs for $1 to 12 packs for $1. And I don't know what I sold. You know, people would count them out. We just calculate, and they would just pay me. Well, one day I'm set up at Canton, and I'm staring down into this tote full of matches, and I see something that says Mickey Mantle. I reach down there and I pull it out of there. I only found one pack of Mickey Mantle matches in there. And at the time, they were getting about $1,200 for a pack of these matches. He had a restaurant that did not last very long. It was in the Dallas area. It was called Country Cookin, Mickey Mantle's Country Cookin. And I had a pack of these matches. And I put them on eBay. I started them out like $1,200, and I kept walking the price back the longer I didn't make sales. They were collectible. Right now, you can get them for about $300 a pack, but in December of last year, I had a lady contact me. I had mine on for, I think they were on for $800 on eBay, and I had a lady contact me, and she said that she wanted to buy them for her husband. That she felt like $500 was a fair offer, and I actually countered her and said, "What? You can't pay 7?" And she said, "No, I think 5." She said, "Do the research." She said, "Check comps," and I went and checked comps. I'm glad that I did, because I went and checked comps, and there was another pack. The next cheapest or next pack to mine was $575. So I accepted her offer, and the thing, as soon as I made her a counter offer, I was like, "What are you, crazy? You know, this is a pack of matches. Take $500. Who knows what you'll buy with that?" Well, I wound up buying 4 storage units, and I bought 2 on one day and 2 on the next, and this is where I happened to wind up with the Purple Heart. The one that I sold for $6,000 through Heritage. So this is the first of the 40 units that I bought with the money that I got from the Mickey Mantle matches. I bought this for the African art that was in there. I did pretty well with selling some gold frames, but I found a Walmart gift card in there that was worth $50. And I used it that day, the day that I picked it up. So that was a pretty decent unit. This one, the Halloween costumes, I was really excited about this. I got about 250 costumes, but they're mostly adult, and they're all pretty sexy. They've been difficult to sell. I've been trying to get off of them for $10 a piece, and I just haven't been able to generate too much money. I think I've probably covered my cost of the unit or near to it, but I may be wholesaling these out to a vendor down at Warrenton. Maybe. I'm working on that right now. It should be slightly profitable. This unit is the one, I thought this was a Boother unit because of the furniture that was in there. I got a pair of Prada shoes. I got an iPhone that I was able to sell, a couple of pieces of silver. This was a fairly profitable unit. And it came it was related to the next unit, which is the one where I got the Purple Heart. Not only did I get the Purple Heart, but I got a piece of the boat that sold on eBay, providing me a substantial amount of money. And Oh, I got a pair of 1972 World Series tickets out of the deal. And the first weekend at Canton, I probably made three or $400 on it, and then I made that much more the next week. But that's been a pretty lucrative unit besides the Purple Heart. So anybody contemplating getting into buying storage units, the only decent advice I can give is that it's a numbers game. Not every one of them is going to be a winner. Even the ones that you think are going to be winners aren't. And you know, it's always a surprise. The one thing that I do know, I stay with a guy that has been doing this for 37 years, and I can say that he chooses and a lot of very, very good units. But he also has the habit of he scrolls units for probably 4 hours a day. You've got to put in the time, and you've got to learn how to discern which are the better ones from which aren't, and you're still going to get surprised. I mean, there's always a surprise, but it is a numbers game, and it's worth doing. I hadn't done it for almost a year. The last unit that I had gotten was the Santiscoy unit, and I got super excited when I got the Purple Heart unit. Really, units are the best way to acquire wealth, I think. And But I need a trailer. I need a trailer, and I need to straighten out my storage units. But it's all about chances and getting out there and taking the risk and just chasing the dream, chasing rainbows. Um, but I hope that you've enjoyed this presentation, and I hope that you subscribe. Thank you.